Hello everyone, welcome back to Just Laravel. Here in this video, I'm going to tell you about CRUD operations using Vue.js and Laravel as backend. Basically, CRUD means create, read, update and delete operations on database. And I'm going to use Vue and Laravel as backend. And Vue.js has becoming popular these days. So if you also wanted to use Vue as your front-end framework, and you are looking for tutorials, and this is the one. Here I perform CRUD operations with Laravel and Vue. This is a post here. There is also a working demo and project available on GitHub. This is the demo here. You can enter some name here, enter age here, and enter profession like web developer, and click add. You can see that will be added here. And you can edit it. Instead of web developer, I will change to web designer. It will update it here, and you can also delete them. So these are the basic CRUD operations, and this is the code here that is available on GitHub. You can clone it and download it and use it for your purposes. So now let's get started with this application. I'm going to recreate the application, this application once again. So let's get started. Let me open my terminal here, and here I'll go to my workspace and I'll create a new Laravel project by using command Laravel new Vue.js CRUD. This is for video tutorial. I'm using at Vue.js CRUD video tut. So application is being created. So it's been loading so fast because all these are loading from cache. Generally it would take some more time, as I recently created a Laravel project, so everything has been loaded from the cache here. You can see loading from cache. So now I'll go into that project folder. That name is Vue.js _ CRUD. So I'll go to C. So let me first clear this. I'll go to cd Vue.js CRUD video tut. This is the project, and I will generate a key for it. PHP artisan key generate. So now I can run PHP artisan serve on it. You can see this is the default Laravel project. That means our project has been created. So now what I can do is I will install Npm Install so that all the node packages will be installed, so that we can use Vue here. So I'll run this command Npm Install. It might take some time now, so I'll just pause this video and I will come back when it is done. So all our node packages have been installed. So now let me open this project in Sublime text editor, and also I will alternatively run this project PHP artisan serve. You can see these node modules. That means all the packages have been installed, and you can see this resources, assets, JS, app.js, and this is the JS file where we write all the Vue here. And you can see a mix in here, webpack. What it does is the JS I write in this location, resources, assets, JS, app.js, just a short. This will be added to this public JS file. You can see in public JS, app.js will be another file, so it will be added here. For that there will be a mix in here, and for that to do automatically there are some commands here. That is, you can see here in package.json dev watch and hot. So I will run watch. What this watch does is when we are writing any changes to this and when saving this file, it will automatically add all those changes to public.js file, this public app.js, and will tell us any errors or not. So for that I'm going to run here npm run watch in this here. npm run watch. So it will take some time. It will build all the dependencies for the first time. So you can see this, it runs this command here, that is written here, npm run development. It means it will call this node modules, it will call webpack.js. I have just shown this webpack file. It will mix all the JS file and CSS files. And for now this is the main JS file. As I said, you can see here in the top right corner it says Laravel mix build successful. So when everything is done, you will see this type of screen, and if there are any errors it will show here and it will also pop up in the right corner. And now in the demo you can see there is a form for name, age and profession, and there is an add button. So first let's design this form here. We'll go to resources, views, welcome.blade.php, and we don't need all these styles, neither this link to the font. So I'll remove all this and I will remove everything here, and I'll create a new div with ID of app. Actually you can use any ID here, but this ID should match with this here. Actually we are creating a new element here within view scope, so everything within this div falls under view scope. So everything what we write all under this div falls under this falls under the view scope. So we have to, if you want to change this something like view, something like that, so make sure we also change that ID here. This is the basic thing. You can see as soon as we change you will see this notification here. So now let's add the form here. Actually I'm going to use Bootstrap here, so I will include that link here for Bootstrap CSS. I'm going to use Bootstrap 3.3.6, and I will design a form here using form groups and all. So for that I've used the Bootstrap, and so I'll create a new div with class form group. So form group is a Laravel, form group is a Bootstrap class, and I will create a label here, and that label would be name, and an input field. Our type is text. Name is name itself. As the first field we have is name, next is age, next is profession, and ID will be also name. And we'll also add a required field for this. Actually we can do this required validation in Vue.js also. You can also do it in Laravel backend. Actually we'll do in this application, I'll do it in the Vue.js, but I'll also keep this required just for our purposes. And you need to add a class, some Bootstrap class called form control, I guess. And lastly I will add a placeholder, that is enter your name, something like that. So now I'll save this and I will open this in the browser. So I will refresh this page. We can see a name field here. See, enter your name. And similarly we will create 2 more fields for age and profession. So these are the 3 fields here: name, age and profession. You can see these are the 3 fields here. And next there is a button here, so I will add the button now, and this is the form here with add button. So Bootstrap has been included. You can see all these are all Bootstrap classes now. This is the form. And next so now let's go into this JS file here, and for testing I'll just include some console log here, some hi, something like that. And after this we need to include, you can see this for every change this will show here, and I will include this JS file here script source. Actually I will include the JS file in public folder. Actually this slash refers to public, and in public there's a folder called JS, and here in this JS file I'm including this app.js. As you have used a webpack, it will be automatically, everything we write here will be placed in that JS file. So now let's test this. Hi, and I will refresh this, and if you go and inspect in the console you can see hi, and if you see the line number, it's 13,895. That is in public folders app.js file. And now we'll just delete this I, and we can initialize everything in Vue.js using this data like this. We can initialize some variables if we need, and all this using this data. And if we need any methods here, we can use these methods here. That means we can call some methods like functions. When on click we'll call some function, and all those functions will be written here. So in the data first I'll create a new item which has name, age and profession. That's what we have in the fields, age, and the last one is profession. So as we have created this new item, we can bind them to this input field. So you can bind them like view model. This is a view directive called view model, so we can bind them like equal to new item dot name view model. We can bind this using new item dot name, and this would be age, and this would be profession. So everything we write, so all the items here, all the data we write in these fields can be used here, here. And for this add button, we can create a function here, click dot prevent equal to, and now this can be our function name. I will name this as create item. So we'll call a function like this at the rate click dot prevent equal to create item. So now in this app.js, as I said, there are methods here, and the method would be create item and function create item. So here for now I'll just alert something, so that I'll say click. So just for testing purpose I'll save this. You can see there are no errors. So now I have created an alert here. So now if I refresh this page and click this button, you can see we are showing this alert clicked. So that means our this click button is functioning correctly. So now what I'll do is I will enter some name, age and profession. So when I click add, instead of this alert, we need to add them to the database. So I have added some CSS to center these items. So name, age and profession will appear like this, just as here. You can grab all the CSS here. I will just pasted this basic CSS from Laravel. By default Laravel gives us some template, right? So I have used that some of that CSS here, so to center the things. So this is now centered. So now we'll let's create a new entry in the database when clicking this add button. So let's open this vue.js and delete this alert, and now we'll create some Laravel roots here. So when create item function is called, it will call the backend controller and create an item in the database. So I'll create a new variable called input. That means and I will call assign it to new item here, so that as all the items you are getting are of this here, name, age and profession. So I will assign this to input, and now we can check the entered items here. So when we click here and enter items, as we have binded them to this new item, so we can get them using this input variable, as we have assigned var input equal to this dot new item. So for that you can also console log it, console.log input. Now I'll just enter some dummy names and some profession. I will click add, and now see the console. You can see the object here, the name, age and profession. You can see these are all the values we entered here. That means we are getting this values in this input variable. So now we can work on those and pass them to the backend so that they will be added in the database. And as I said, we'll also check this required validation in this Vue.js. We can check the required validation using like this: input name equal to null, or actually we have to write this in if, or input age or profession. We'll write this age or profession. If they are null, we have to show an error. Actually for now I will write some alert: please fill all fields, and I will save this. Now if I refresh this and I'll just click this add, you'll see an error: please fill all fields. And if I enter this thing and enter, you can see please fill all fields. I need to enter all the 3 fields, and if I now press enter, you can see them in the console. Actually I have deleted the console. So here you can write some relation for errors, and you can see in the demo, if I enter anything, it says please fill all the fields. So we'll create a field in the view here, and we'll enable it only when these fields are empty. So now for that I'll create a new variable here, has errors, and by default I'll set it to true. So and if we have some errors, I will set has error to false. I have to call this dot has error to false, and in this here I will show some I'll show here what I'll show is some p, and we can bind a class here. I will bind a class hidden, and here I'll add some bootstrap classes for showing that alert red color box and all. And I will write here please fill all the fields, please fill, and here I will add some bootstrap classes for showing that alert red color box and all. And I will write here please fill all the fields, please fill. Which now if you see the output, it will show this all the time, whether there is an error or not. It will show the that thing, please fill all the fields text message. You can see it is always showing whether there is an error or not. So for that we need to do only a specific condition, as we have kept some conditions like this dot has error equal to true and false. So now what we can do is we can bind the classes in Vue.js. So what I'll do is I'll write here we bind, and I'm going to bind a class, and that class is hidden, and I want to show this hidden only when has error. So this means this class will be hidden only when this has error is true. So that is the reason why I have default kept this has error equal to true. So when this is true, this class would be hidden, and when this is false, this class would show. So I'll just show a demo here. Actually, I'll refresh it. Initially that would be true. Actually, this is not working. When you refresh and see, actually this is still showing. Actually this shouldn't show here. See this. Actually we have written this p outside of this view scope. You can see app view is here, and we have written this p tag here. So I'll cut it and paste it here, so that this will be inside the view scope, so that this all this can be accessible. This is the app view, and this ID. All the elements inside this ID only can be accessed this view functionalities and all. So now if I go and refresh this, you can see that has been disappeared, and it will appear only when we click add. And if I add something like and I will click add, actually I have to create an else here, and in else I have to create this dot has error equal to true again. So now you'll refresh. By default it says empty when the fields are empty, and we click add, it says enter, please fill all the fields. I will say something like you can see that has been disappeared now. We can try this once again. You can see that is not appearing now. And if I delete all this and if I click add, you can see please fill all the fields. So now this error is functioning well. So now we'll go into this adding to the database part. So here in the else we'll call this there is a package called axios, which is used for all HTTP requests like get, post and all. So I'll use this axios here to call the Laravel backend. First I'll create a new root for it. I'll open roots web.php, and I'll create a new root that would be post, as we are posting items to database. And I will call that as store items, something like that, store item. And this would be in a new controller. I need to create this controller now, main controller. So I need to create this controller. I will create, open this terminal. I'll just close the server, and I'll create, first let me clear this. I'll create PHP artisan make controller, and I will call this as main controller. You can see controller created successfully, and we can run this again. And here we can see this app controllers. You will see this main controller, and in the web.php I have created a function called store item. So I am going to create that function here. Public function store item, and this is the basic function here. And actually axios.post, this is post method, and the root is store item. So I'll call this root, and we also need to pass some parameters to it. So that parameter should be input, as I have just shown. This input variable contains this name, age and profession fields. There is a callback function called then, a function called response. Items are stored successfully. It will go into this function. So first create this controller here, store item. And what we need to do is we need a model here. I'll just create a new model, use app, this model, all the models will be stored in app folder, app, and I will create something called data. Actually that is not there, I have to create. I'll just show, assuming that is created, data equal to new data. And now we can save to the database, like similarly for age and profession. This would be age, and I will save this and I will return the data. So this function basically creates the data with name, age and profession. So now I'm going to create a new model that would be an app folder, new file, data.php. This would be a PHP file, namespace, app, and will use. So this is the import I'm going to use. I'm going to create a new class called data, which extends model, and it has table name, protected table name. I'm giving this table as view CRUD data, and I'm going to turn off the timestamps. So this is the table name, view CRUD data, and this I'm turning off the timestamps, so that I'll do the false. And now in the .env file, we need to give this database name, username, and the password. Username is root, password is root. So I'll just show you the database I have already created. Localhost phmyadmin. So this is the database, justlaravel demos, and this is the table, view CRUD data. There's only one field here. This table is already created, and as we have changed this .env file, it's best to stop the server and run the server again so that the changes would take place. And now we have given this database name, username, password, and we have created a model for it, and I have already added this. So now let's add a new field here and let's check. Let me refresh this. I will enter new name called W, age called 2, Q option. We'll add it here, and let me refresh here. You can see this name W, age of 72, so old man, and this profession is QQQ. So you can see the data has been added to the database. So we have so this functionality has been done correctly. When this action has been this store item function has been called and the functionality has been performed successfully, it will go into this function. And here what I will do is I will create a new instance for this field, where underscore, I'll give some underscore this equal to this, so that we won't be confused. And now I'll call underscore this dot new item equal to, so we are again initializing this new item here. And as you see here, and in the demo you see, when we add a new item here, it's immediately displaying here. So that for that we need to also create another method to display here. So I'll call this as this dot get view item, some function like that, get items. So in this function what we do is we'll get all the items in the database. As of now there are only 2 items here, so we'll get these items and show. You can see in the table format, ID, name, age, profession. So first let us create this table in the welcome.blade.php file. So let's open this. After this button, I'll create a table. So I have created a basic table with some bootstrap classes, table and table borderless, and I have given an ID of table. And these are the fields here: ID, name, age, profession, and actions. And in the actions we'll have 2 actions, edit and delete. So actually if you want to display, we need to display it like this: TD and ID would be some 1, and another TD and another TD, where it would be some name, something like that. Actually we need to display this from the database. So what we'll do is now for that we'll go into this app.js file. I'll create this method get items. I'll create a method called get items function get items, and here I'll use this axios again, and I'll call axios dot get now. Actually we need to only get the items, and I'll call this as get items, and you don't need any parameters here. Dot then again, and we'll have a function here, response again, that one is, so there's another function, so we separate them by comma. And now going to this get items, I'll get a root called get items here, that is get root, URI is get items, controller function would be main controller @ get items. Call the get items function here in the main controller, public function get items. So what I'll do is your data equal to this model, and I'll get all the items. You can call there's a function called all, which gets all the items from the database particular table, and I will return data simply. So now in this response function, and here first I'll create a new variable items which holds an array. So I'll again need to create an instance of this, and I'll call here underscore this dot items equal to response dot data. Actually here in the response we are returning data which has all the fields from the table, so we can just assign it to that variable, this dot items equal to response dot data. So now all the data from that query is stored in these items. So now I can just loop that here. So for looping there is a view directive called view for. So now I can just loop that here. So for looping there is a view directive called view for, and that can write as item in items. Actually we are looping every element in items, as all the data is stored in this items array. So we are looping items as item, and here we can write as item.id. It's better to prefix with @. So @item.id gives us the ID, and similarly item.name, we'll write 2 more here for age and profession. So I'll save this. Now let's refresh this and see. So I'm going to add something here, 222 and some profession. You can see now all these are being displayed here. All the data what I have been added has been displayed here. Actually we have not set any actions, so it's not displayed. And if you notice one more thing, it's only displayed when I click on add. You can see it's only displayed by default, it's empty. So when I enter any item like this, and then it's showing here this new item, because we have called this item, because we have called this get items only when in this create item function. So initially when the page loads, then also we have to call this function. For that there is another hook that is called mounted. We'll use mounted as like this, and we can call a function here, and again that function would be get items. So when the mounted, that means when the page initially loads, we can call this get items function, that we can write as function that is mounted, and there we can call this get items function, that is this dot get items. You can see an error. Actually you can apply comma here so that this will be separated. You can see now this Laravel build mix is successful. So now I will go and refresh this page now. You can see now initially also this all this data is loading. So we have created an item and we have read an item. So create and read operations are done. So we'll add these two actions here, edit and delete. Those are update and delete operations. With that, all CRUD operations will be completed. So I'll add two more buttons here. Just let me show it. So these are the two buttons here. This one is show model. Actually, in the demo, when we click on this edit, we are getting a model here. This is the basic view model. That is for that I need to show this is show model equal to true. As similarly, we have set for error here in this for error thing we have set this dot hazard equal to true and false. Similarly, we also set another variable, that is show model, which is initially set to false, and when this button is clicked, where we are toggling its value to true. And these are some variables called ID, name, age and profession. So we use these values for displaying it here. We need to display these values here, right? So for that we'll use this function setVal, and in the view we'll use these variables to display in the model. And this is the basic button class. And here for the delete, you can see this is the basic function which we have previously called for create item. Similarly, I have created a new function called delete item, and I am passing an item to it. So whole item, everything here in this will be passed here. So now let's go into this JS and create these functions. Delete item function first, and I'll create a new function called delete item function delete item. And I'm going to call here axios again, and will just copy this here. So here in this, instead of store item, I'll call delete item. Instead of input, I will pass here item. Actually, we have a parameter to this item, so I'll pass this item here. And I don't need complete item, I'll just pass item.id. You can also pass only id here too, but you can also pass only id here, item.id, like this, and we can use that here. And so now let's create this delete item root first. Root, actually I have mentioned it post. Actually there is another parameter for another HTTP verb for delete, you can use that, but I'm going to use this post itself. Main controller @ delete item, and I'm going to create this function now. Let me save all this. Public function delete item request, and here in this function I will call data again, and here data of find. You can use this find function when we are searching with primary ID, and I'm going to call this ID, and I'm going to call delete function on this. This is pretty simple. What will happen is, in the Laravel document there is a function called find. You can pass the primary ID of the table, primary key of the table. So ID is the primary key, so I'm passing this, so it will find an item with the ID and it will delete it. That is pretty simple. And now after this the delete item, we need to call this this dot get items here again. Actually we also need to pass an ID here. that is id which we are passing it here, item.id, so that that can be used here in this web.php file. Actually we need to pass this item in the form of URL. Instead of passing it as comma, actually we need to pass this as URL, as we have written this in this format. Now let's check this, and refreshing this, and I'm clicking delete. You can see that item has been deleted, and I'm clicking this delete. You can see the item has been deleted. I'll enter some name, some age, and I'll enter some QS profession. You can see that item has been added, and if I now click this delete, you can see that item has been disappeared, deleted. And the final thing, edit operation. As you see here, we need to a model here, and this is the basic bootstrap model. We can cover this basic script and edit it as we want. So I'll just show you the script now. So here in this welcome.blade.php, so below this script I will paste this script. So this is the model here, and we'll show this model only when this show model equal to true. So for that we'll do some below this table I will add something, modify this model here. So this is the model here. I'm using this if this and the directive. So I'm calling this if show model. That means only when show model is true, that will become true when this button is clicked here. So when this button is clicked, this will become true, and only when this is true we'll show this all this element here, all the model element here. And when this model is closed, we'll click show model equal to false. That is the cancel button. Close means. So we'll have some basic slots here. For header, there's a header called edit item. If we have not given here edit item, it will take this default header, and if you have not given this slot name equal to body, it will take this default body. Even here it's not nothing here, and the slot name equal to footer. And if you have not given this footer, it will take the default one what is here. So we need to override them. So we'll use this slot equal to header, body, and footer. So in the header I will create a heading called edit item, and in the body we need to show the form to edit the items. And here there are two buttons, cancel and update. So when cancel is clicked, again I'm making this show model to variable to false, so that the model will be closed. And when this update is clicked, I'm going to call this edit item function, as previously I called create item, delete item. Like this, I'm going to call the edit item function. There we'll call under Laravel root, and we'll perform function. So now for now let's check for at this point it's working or not. So I'm going to refresh. You can see edit. You can see the model is being displayed here. Need to include that component here. That is a new component which we have included. This hash model template is a new component that we have included here in this here in the script format. So we need to include that template here. So I'm just going to refresh this, and I'm going to click this edit again. You can see this is the model here, and this is the heading, and this is the cancel, and this is the update. So when I click update, I'm going to call the Laravel root for edit, and here I'm going to show some fields here. So let me open this and create a new method, that is edit item. After this I'm going to create a new method, so edit item. I'm just going to copy this name and function, and here again I'm going to call this axios. And but before that, if you notice, I've created this setVal function, and I said I'll use them to show the items in the model, show the form elements in the model with some data. So first let me use this function here. I'll call another function called setVal. It has some 4 parameters. I'm going to call this as val underscore id and val underscore name, this as age and this as profession, and I'm going to assign these values to these local variables here. I'm going to create this dot these are used for edit, so I will underscore edit underscore id, that is eid. I'm going to call this as some variable. Not only this, we can initialize anything here. This is for id here, name, age and profession here. This would be, I'll call this as age. This is for name, and this is for profession. I'll call this name to this one, age to this one, and profession here. And one more thing is we need to create all the items here, that is e underscore id. We need to initialize the items here. Similarly, e, name, age and profession, and we have created these items. And now what we will do is you also set these items here, and in this welcome.blade, instead of test, I will show you a form here. There will be input. Actually, let me copy this here, and we don't need this v model, and this id would be e underscore name also would be e underscore name, and we'll set its value like this, value equal to this dot e underscore name. This e underscore name comes from this variable here. So when this function, so what happens basically is we are calling this function here, this set value function, and in this function what I'm doing is I'm assigning this eid, ename, age, profession to this id, name, age and profession we are getting from the table here, so that we can access those variables, and we'll set them as values to this input field. So if I save this, and I'll just show you example for name, and I'm refreshing it, and if I click edit, you can see the name field is shown here. Similarly, like name, we also call the age and profession and also id, so that we can so that when this edit item is clicked, you can get all those details. So this is the name field, input name value equal to e underscore name, this value will be e underscore age, and this value will be e underscore profession. As I said, all the values are coming from these fields. That value e underscore name is pointed to here, that value e underscore age is pointed to here, and these values we are getting from while we are displaying the data in the table. So we are displaying the data in the table here, right? So that values we are capturing in this function and using them to display it here. So if I go to the page and see again, you can see all the name, age and profession has been displayed here, and for this you can see the other details have been displayed here. So now what we'll do is we'll just, on this edit button is clicked, so when this edit button is clicked, we'll get all these field values, we'll get all the field values, and we'll pass them here like this, and in the main controller we will edit them. So let's do that now. Here in the edit function, somewhere some value, id value, and id value equal to document dot get element by id, and that id is e underscore id dot value. So similarly for all the other three fields, age, profession, and name, id, this one would be for id. So these are all the four values. ival, nval means id value, name value, age value, and profession value. We have got all of them, and now we can call this axios post method. I'll just copy this here. Instead of delete item, I'll call this as edit item, and instead of item.id, I'll call this ival.value. So, and we also need to pass some parameters to this, and also we need to pass these three parameters, name, age, and profession, so that could be edited and updated in the database. So we need to pass these three values. First value would be val1, and that value would be name. We'll call this as n.value, and the second val would be age, and I will call this a underscore val.value, and the third parameter would be profession. I will call this p underscore val.value. So all the three parameters should be passed, and in the dot then I'll obviously call this getItems function, and I also need to close the model. That means I need to pass show model equal to false. This dot show model equal to false, and I'm going to create this edit item root here, root post the root is edit item, and I also have passed an id here, so that would be id. I call main controller @ edit item, and we need to close this. And in the edit item function, public function edit item, and in the edit function, what we'll do is we'll call this data again, and data where id, the database where the id is equal to the id, and we'll get this item. We can also call it first. So we'll just get this item, and again we'll call simply these three on that. Instead of name, we'll call request.get val1, and here that will be value 2, and here that will be value 3 here, and 2 here, and finally we return the data. So now let's see whether everything is working fine or not. We have messed up anything. We'll just refresh this and see. So I have got this W name and Q profession, and I'll profession to some test. I'll click update, and there is some error. Let me check it. Update. actually the model is not closed because we have called this as underscore this, and but we have not initialized that this variable. So I'm going to initialize this variable, and now this model will be toggle to false, and this getItem function will be called. So now let's check that again. Actually, you can see previously it was edited. The model is not closed and the items are not shown. Here I write something like C update. You can see this update functionality is working, and I will enter this W2 from E. You can see this update is working. We can enter a new item that is immediately showing here. This is the create operation, and all the items are shown here. This is the read operation, and this is the update operation. You can see the item has been changed, and this is the delete operation. That means all the 4 operations, create, read, update, delete operations are performed now. And we have used this view functionality here. First we have used these 4 view functions: get items, create items, delete item, and edit item, and some other functions like this mounted and set val for managing the models and displaying the initial values. So this is how this basic thing works in the view, and this is pretty common. This would be done in any Laravel project. So just the main purpose of this application is just to show you how to connect this view to the database in the Laravel. I mean, how to connect this view to Laravel. Here these are all the view items. This is here we'll call this axios post, axios get, and this will be a check it here, and will be called that particular controller. So this is the main thing here. These are all the functions in view. That's how we can perform these CRUD operations using Vue.js and Laravel. That's it for the video. For your information, there's already code available on GitHub here, and there's also the working demo here. You can test it here, and the explanation of this. And there is also the code available on GitHub here. You can check this, and this is the demo. You can test the demo here, and this is the post explaining about it. You can follow this too, and that's it for the video. There's also another video which shows the demo, how the application works and all. So that's it for the video. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, give it a like, comment. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Bye bye.
Thank you for watching. Now it's time to discover more. Simply click on the screen to subscribe to our channel, watch another video, and visit our webpage.